In Star City, Nathan Haywood meets with Oliver and tells him that the Legends are in trouble. He tells him that he knows that he is the Green Arrow, and then shows him evidence of them changing history. They travel to the Atlantic Ocean and find the Wave Rider on the ocean floor. They find Rory in stasis and wake him up. He attacks Oliver, who easily subdues him. He begins to tell them the events that had transpired, resulting in the team being separated. In 1637 France, the team finds themselves at the home of Louis XIII. They save him and his wife from time pirates, there to kill them. Back on the Wave Rider, the team experiences a timequake. Rory tells Oliver and Nathan that the Nazis nuked New York City in 1942. The Legends decide to go and save New York, despite Rex Tyler's warning not to travel to that time and place. Sarah finds out that Damien is connected to the attack and makes it her mission to kill him. Gideon tells Ray and Stein that Albert Einstein disappeared before the nuke was created, which leads them to believe he was kidnapped by the Germans to create it. When they arrive in 1942, New York, Ray follows Sarah thinking she'll get herself into trouble while the rest of the team look for Albert Einstein. Sarah and Ray find Dark and find out he was working with the Germans. Ray convinces Sarah to wait on killing Dark until they find out where he is hiding the uranium used to make the bomb. Stein and Rory abduct Einstein, saving him from the Nazis. Einstein tells him that his ex-wife also has knowledge of how to make it, and that she may be working for Dark. Ray tells him that he can track the uranium signature Dark acquired through constant exposure using his suit. They find Dark in Weehawken, New Jersey, and battle his men. Sarah confronts Dark, while Ray tries to disable the bomb. The plan goes south, so the team is forced to retreat. Rip traces the uranium signature to an underwater U-boat where Dark is aboard. Dark fires the atomic bomb, which heads straight to New York City. Rip realizes that the only way to stop it is to crash their Wave Rider directly into it. He then uses a time scatter device he had Jax make, sending the rest of the team except for Rory to different points in time. He brings Rory to the med bay, and the nuke collides with the Wave Rider. Oliver tells Rory that he has too much on his plate to accompany him to find the Legends, but suggests Nathan goes. They travel back 70 million years in South Dakota, where Ray is being chased by a dinosaur. In the year 821 in England, Stein and Jax are justice for a young king. And finally, in 1693 Salem, Sarah is about to be burned at the stake when they save her. With the team back together, they try to locate Rip, who appears as a hologram. He tells them that they must continue to keep the timeline intact without him. They travel to 1942 Columbia University and convince Einstein to let people know about Maliva Malik, his lover, to keep her safe from Dark. Eobard appears on the submarine Dark is on and saves him from being killed. Before leaving, the team is stopped by the JSA. What does the Legion of Doom have planned for the world? How will this all tie in to the four-way crossover between Supergirl, The Flash, and Arrow? Will the JSA think the Legends to be friend or foe? Will Nathan realize that it's his granddaddy? Why does Dr. Midnight look like he's a weird pilot? Why does Stargirl's outfit always look bad? Why is Obsidian the only cool-looking guy on the JSA? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. The Legends and the JSA fight each other when the latter questions their sudden appearance. The Legends are outmatched and are held captive at the JSA headquarters. Nathan is able to convince one of the members, Hank Haywood, that they are the good guys, revealing that he is his grandson. They tell Rex Tyler that he had met them before, but he cannot remember ever doing so. The JSA then receive a call from the president, asking them to stop a Nazi named Baron Krieger in France, so they let the Legends go. Krieger is revealed to be working with Eobard, who asks him to retrieve an ancient amulet. Back on the Wave Rider, the team realize that they need to be more like the JSA and agreed to make Stein the leader. Sarah then talks to Nathan and tells him that since he is not part of the team, they're going to bring him back to 2016. Nathan realizes that his dog tags have disappeared, meaning that the JSA's mission to stop Krieger failed. The Legends arrive in 1942 France to save them. Stein poses as Max Lorenz to help the team infiltrate a Nazi party. They group up with Vixen and find Krieger. While Stein distracts everyone with his singing, Nathan eavesdrops on Krieger, finding out his plan. The team is compromised when Ray refuses to hail Hitler and a fight ensues. The rest of the JSA appears and asks why the Legends return, with the latter saying that they've come to save them. Aboard the Wave Rider, the Legends and the JSA agree to work together to stop Krieger from obtaining the Askaran amulet. Sarah realizes that Nathan is a hemophiliac and refuses to let him join them out in the field as he could get hurt. They arrive at the Fontainebleau and battle the Nazis. Ray and Vixen pursue Krieger, while the rest of them take on the Nazis and stop the convoy, carrying the amulet. Krieger injects himself with a serum and transforms into a large Hulkling. He easily takes out the team, so they are forced to retreat. Hank is able to retrieve the amulet, but Ray and Vixen are captured. Krieger questions Ray and Vixen and then threatens to kill her when Ray offers to help him perfect his super serum. Rex and Sarah disagree what their next move should be, and Stein has a hard time making a decision. Nathan talks to Hank, who is at the medbay tending to Sarah. They finally open up about how they felt meeting each other, and Hank offers inspiring words to his grandson. Rex and Sarah continue to argue when Stein sides with their plan to save the captive members. Ray continues to work on the super serum, but once Krieger leaves, he knocks out the guards. He frees Vixen and takes a sample of the serum with him. The Legends then arrive at the German bunker and find the two. Dr. Midnight and Commander Steel are being attacked by transformed Krieger when Nathan arrives to save them. Krieger is hit with an airstrike, but so are Nathan and Hank. Hank walks away with minor injuries, but Nathan is slowly dying. Ray injects him with the super serum and his condition improves. The Haywood men share a moment together before saying their goodbyes. Back at the JSA headquarters, Rex is attacked by Eobard, who steals the amulet. Vixen discovers Rex, who dies in her arms, but not before he lets her know that a time traveler is responsible. Citizen Steel makes his appearance next episode. A Shogun steals tech from them. Is the Legion of Doom being controlled by Gorilla Grodd? When will we see Malcolm Merlin and Snart join Reverse Flash and Damien Dark? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Amaya sneaks on board the Wave Rider and knocks out each of the team members, thinking they had something to do with Rex's death. She's stopped by Nathan, who has manifested steel skin with the serum Ray had injected him with. Sarah talks to Amaya, who believes that Rory killed Rex, but Sarah tells her someone else is responsible. Sarah offers to help her find the killer, and they head to talk to the rest of the team. While testing out his new abilities, Nathan and Ray accidentally break the ship's exit hatch and fall out. They end up in 17th century Japan, where Ray's suit is stolen by the Shogun. Nathan is found by a young Japanese woman named Masako, who takes him to her home to care for him. She tells him that she's to be married to the Shogun. Ray is tortured by the Shogun, who claims his armor. The Shogun's men appear at Masako's looking for Nathan. He is unable to activate his steel skin and is stabbed by the samurai. Back on the Wave Rider, Sarah, Amaya, and Rory make a plan to save the two, while Jax and Stein discover a hidden compartment. The three find the Shogun using Ray's suit and meet up with Ray, who has escaped his captivity. Nathan continues to bleed out as Masako and her father tend to him. They're able to save him, and the two nearly share an intimate moment when the team arrives. Nathan convinces them to stay until they stop the Shogun and save the village. Back on the Wave Rider, Stein and Jax are able to open the secret hatch that leads them to a secret armory. They play a message from Barry Allen from 2056 warning Rip about something. Ray trains Nathan and reveals that the only way to stop the Shogun is to destroy the Atom suit. An upset Ray talks to Masako's father, who tells him about his son and how they are alike. He gives Ray the armor that was intended for him to fight the Shogun. Nathan talks to Masako before confronting the Shogun. He is still unable to activate his powers, but Ray and Rory save him. Ray fights the Shogun and uses his knowledge of the suit's weak points. Nathan is able to activate his abilities and save Masako. He destroys the suit and kills the Shogun. Sarah, Amaya, and Rory defend the villagers and defeat the rest of the men. The team says their goodbyes to the Yamashiros and head back to the Wave Rider. Stein and Jax decide to keep what they heard from future Barry Allen a secret from the team. Will the Legends reunite with the JSA at some point? Will they figure out that Eobard is behind all this? Is Gorilla Grodd leading the Legion of Doom? Why are there zombies during the Civil War era? What was the message Barry was trying to give Rip Hunter? What will happen when the team finds out that Stein and Jax were keeping it from them? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. A young time pirate crashes in Mississippi 1863 and is confronted by Confederate soldiers. He then starts succumbing to some sort of infection. The Legends get his distress beacon and decide to find him before he changes the timeline. Stein and Jax continue to keep what they heard from future Barry a secret from everyone. Ray is left on the Wave Rider while they go to find the time pirate. They find his ship and Rory incinerates it. Suddenly, they find themselves having to save a man named Henry Scott from Confederate soldiers. They're then attacked by more of them who have turned to zombies. The team kills them all, but Henry dies, but not before he gives Jax a mission order from Ulysses S. Grant in his satchel. Back on the Wave Rider, Mick is revealed to have been bitten after he passes out, so Ray and Stein work on a vaccine. Nate goes with Sarah to talk to Ulysses, while Jax and Amaya try to infiltrate a Confederate camp to help the Union win the war. Sarah and Nate tell Ulysses about the zombies, but he doesn't believe them. She then brings them ahead of one to prove it. They help the Union take them out, but realize that they need more firepower. Nate helps Ulysses draw up a plan to stop the Confederates and the zombies when Sarah comes up with a plan of her own. Jax struggles to prevent Amaya from blowing their cover as she witnesses how black people are being treated. He then crosses a plantation owner who tortures him. Ray accidentally speeds up the infection in Mick and turns him into a zombie, so he and Stein are forced to play a cat and mouse game with him as he is loose on the ship. Ray is attacked by Mick, so Stein is left to deal with him. He overcomes his fear and cures Mick with the vaccine Ray had put into a fire extinguisher. Jax learns firsthand of how hard the slaves have it, but how strong they are together. Amaya tricks the plantation owner's friend into helping him find Jax. When she finds him, they help the slaves escape. Jax gathers all the zombies at the plantation owner's house and burns them all with a Molotov. On the battlefield, Sarah has Nate draw all the zombies, then use his powers to protect him from the bomb he sets off. She is relieved to see that he had survived the blast, and Jax brings the plans Henry had been searching for. He gives them to Ulysses and credits Henry. Ulysses thanks Sarah and offers her some inspiring words. Back on the Wave Rider, Mick thanks Ray for saving him and gives him Snart's cold gun, saying that he needs a new partner. Stein and Jax talk about the experience and find hope in what they had accomplished. What is Damien Dark doing in the 1980s? Will the team finally find out who Eobard is? Will we finally get the introduction of Malcolm Merlin on Legends? Or maybe Leonard Snart? Why does Mick hate the 80s? Will we finally get some sort of a tie into the Invasion crossover between the four shows? Is Ray kind of picking up the mantle of Captain Cold? Or will he recreate his suit? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Bum, 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 bum. In 1987 Miami, Dark collects a relic as a form of payment for a drug deal. It turns out to be a bust, then Eobard appears and kills the DEA and the rest of the men. Eobard asks for Dark's partnership, and in return he guarantees him real power. On the Wave Rider, Jax talks to Sarah and Stein about doing more than just traveling to different points in time. They agree, but they feel like they would just keep making aberrations. Mick teaches Ray how to use Snart's cold gun and how to act like one of them. Nate tries to talk to Amaya to find out more about his grandfather, but learns nothing. They find an aberration, leading them to 1987 Washington, D.C. They split up and try to find out who isn't supposed to be at the White House. Jax and Stein try to avoid running into his past self, while Ray and Mick find Dark, who Sarah goes after. The plan goes south and they're forced to retreat. Amaya and Nate go to the JSA Academy to ask help from them, but find no one there. Someone is revealed to be watching them from the shadows. Obsidian appears and asks why Amaya had abandoned abandoned them when Nate knocks him unconscious. The team nearly compromised the entire mission, so they try to figure out who Dark is working with. Stein tells Sarah that she cannot lose focus and kill Dark because of the ramifications it can have in the future. Obsidian tells Amaya and Nate that the JSA minus himself were sent on a mission to Leipzig, but they never returned. Sarah calls them back to the Wave Rider, and they formulate a plan. She sends Ray and Mick to stake out Dark and find out who he is working with. They find out that he is making deals with the KGB when they say past Stein meeting with Dark. They're forced to save him when he is stabbed by him. They bring him on board the Wave Rider and heal the two Steins at the medbay. Amaya and Nate ask Obsidian to use his government connections to help them get close to Dark at the White House State Dinner. Stein offers some inspiring words to Ray, who is confused on who he is without his Atom suit. He then apologizes to Sarah and tells her that he only said those things to make sure she didn't get hurt. They arrive at the White House and wait for Dark. Martin encounters Clarissa and tries to draw attention of his past self not being there. Nathan spots Dark and they all get ready to move. Dark hands over a CD-ROM in exchange for another relic. The Legends confront him and fight his men. Stein, Ray, and Mick evacuate the dinner and then save Clarissa. Ray uses components from Snart's cold gun and dismantles the bomb. Obsidian chases after Dark, who fires at Amaya, causing Obsidian to take the bullet. Sarah confronts Dark and decides to spare him, but not before she tells him about his future. Eobard appears and whisks Dark away. Sarah reveals to Nate the relic that she stole off of Dark. Back on the Wave Rider, Stein tells Marty that he should focus on being a good husband to Clarissa. Obsidian decides to stay in 1987 after revealing to Amaya that he has a partner waiting for him at home. He thanks Nate and Amaya and leaves. Amaya finally opens up to Nate about his grandfather Henry, saying that he was the heart of the group. In a random warehouse, Dark asks Eobard to bring him along so that he can change the future Sarah said he would have. After they help Jonah Hex in his time period, will he join them in the quest to find Rip? Will the team ask to help from another speedster to take down Eobard and Dark? Will the Legion of Doom's creation lead for things to become undone in the Arrowverse? How excited are you guys to see the crossover between the four shows? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. In 1874 Liberty, Colorado, outlaw Quentin Turnbull confronts a time pirate looking for a rare item. The time pirate tries to outsmart Turnbull, but is shot dead. He takes the time pirate's future tech. On the Wave Rider, the team tries to figure out who the speedster working with Dark is. Jax tries to convince Stein to tell the team what they heard in the message from future Barry, but Stein refuses. The team then gets an alert of an aberration, taking them to 1874 Liberty, Colorado. They find Jonah Hex about to be hung, and an overconfident Nate tries to save him. He reunites with the team, and they take him back to the Wave Rider. Nate shows them a map of the entire US, in which Turnbull has taken over the entire West. They devise a plan to draw him out. Ray, Jax, and Nate pose as tax collectors to infiltrate one of his offices. They're nearly compromised, but they incapacitate his men. They're able to infiltrate Turnbull's gang and find out that he is using Dwarf Star. They find the time pirate's tracker and go back to tell the team. Amaya watches Mick as he taunts Turnbull at a saloon. They end up getting along to Amaya's surprise. She updates Sarah and Jonah on the situation, causing the latter to confront Turnbull himself. A shootout erupts at the saloon, and the team regroups. Turnbull forces them to retreat when he uses bullets made of the Dwarf Star. He fires at Mick, and Nate steps in front of the bullet, which goes right through his skin. They rush to get him back on the Wave Rider, and Sarah confronts Jonah on his history with Turnbull. He tells her about what happened in Calvert 8 years before and how he got his scars. Stein begins to suffer from visions and has Gideon run tests on him. While Jax checks up on him, he suffers another episode and sees a woman. Amaya talks to Mick and attempts to convince him that he is a good person at heart. Ray tries to lift Nate's spirits and has an idea on how Turnbull will take over the West. He believes that he is going to load a train with Dwarf Star to blow up the Summit Pass, which would make it impossible for the rest of the country to access the West. Jax and Ray chase after Nate, who decides to stop the train himself, while Mick and Amaya plant the dynamite in the mine containing the Dwarf Star. Sarah then brings Jonah to Turnbull as a prisoner so that they can get close to him. The bomb goes off, and Jonah uses the distraction to overpower Turnbull. Nate jumps in front of the train and is able to successfully stop it. Jonah thanks Sarah for her and the team helping him take down Turnbull before saying goodbye. Amaya tells Mick that he proved her point that he is a good person after what they had done. Stein then tells Jax that he thinks that the lady is someone who replaced Clarissa as his wife. Ray shows Nate a suit he made for him using the Dwarf Star alloy they obtained from the train. Sarah interrupts them and says that their friends in 2016 need their help. How excited are you guys for the four-way crossover? How awesome was it that they had Jonah Hex back? How sad was it that he didn't join the team? Will the combined efforts of Supergirl, Team Flash, Team Arrow, and the Legends be enough to stop the Dominators? Will the Legion of Doom take the time to expand their rosters while our heroes are off fighting these aliens? And who the heck is this new woman in Stein's life? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Nate brings Oliver, Diggle, Sarah, and Ray back to the Hall of Justice after dropping Thea at Star City. They then regroup with the rest of the team. Nate shows the Super Friends footage of the Dominators in Redmond, Oregon, 1951, and proposes that they abduct one from there. Oliver pulls Kara aside because he wants to limit her involvement as he doesn't know enough about her. Stein, Caitlin, and his daughter work together to create a nano-weapon to combat the Dominators. He becomes frustrated when he does not know any of the memories she's talking about. Stein talks to Caitlin and reveals that he's going to fix whatever his younger self did, which would erase his daughter. The team arrive in Redmond, where Nate, Mick, and Amaya go to find a Dominator, while Cisco stays with Felicity on the Wave Rider. Felicity realizes that Cisco wanted to leave 2016 because he wanted to get away from Barry. The three legends are able to incapacitate a Dominator, but as they're about to bring it back to the Wave Wave Rider, they're captured by men in black suits led by Agent Smith. Cisco and Felicity rush to save the three when they figure out they're taken. The three legends are locked up with the Dominator, but Nate thinks it is a perfect opportunity to interrogate it. It tells him that they're trying to rid the Earth of metas. Cisco and Felicity save them, and they decide to free the Dominator as well. They stop it from being tortured by Agent Smith and send it back on the Dominator ship they had on the Wave Rider. They then head back to 2016. The Dominator contacts them and tells them that although he is thankful they saved him, they're still going to destroy the metas. Barry, Oliver, Ray, and Sarah are confronted by the head of the DOD, who is an Agent Smith. He tells them that the Dominator see the metas as a threat. The man tells them that Barry was the reason the Dominators returned after he broke the truce between the humans and them. He tells them that the Dominators will leave if they hand over Barry to them. Cisco and Nate vibe to talk to the Dominator they saved. They try to convince it that the metas are actually trying to save the world. It then tells them that they're going to kill the meta still, unless they turn Barry over. Cisco finally understands that Barry is going through when he realized that he had changed the timeline when they saved the Dominator. Barry tells them all that he's going to turn himself into the Dominators, but all his friends refuse to let him go through with it. They tell him that they will fight beside him no matter what. Sarah and Jax appear and tell them that the Dominator mothership is in Central City and has begun to open up. They realize that the Dominators tried to draw attention away from the meta bomb. Cisco and Sarah chase after the bomb and try to disable it. The rest of the Super Friends fight the Dominators on the rooftop of Central City. Barry and Kara plant the nanoweapons Stein created in each of the Dominators, and Felicity activates them. With great effort, Firestorm transmutates the meta bomb and all of the Dominators retreat. At the Hall of Justice, the Super Friends are honored by the stand-in president, and they celebrate after. Oliver apologizes to Kara and he shares a group hug with her and Barry. Cisco gives Kara a device which can open breaches so that she can visit the world anytime. Stein talks to Jax about his daughter and has him promise not to say anything. Agent Smith appears and tries to cover up what they had done, but changes his tune when Kara talks to him. Kara then says goodbye to everyone and leaves to go back to her world. After, the legends leave to go about their time-traveling adventures. Barry apologizes to Diggle once again for erasing Sarah, and the latter forgives him. Finally, Barry and Oliver share a drink and talk about how much their lives have changed after becoming superheroes. All aboard the hype train on the fourth and final part of the DC TV crossover between Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends. How did you guys like the way they rounded up the Dominator invasion storyline? What is in store for our heroes next, now that Kara can travel between worlds? How excited are you? What will be the next crossover adventure? What will happen if Stein doesn't tell the team about his daughter? Where's Clarissa? What will Mick do now that Snart is part of the Legion of Doom along with Malcolm, Damian, and Eobard? Will the team run into Rip Hunter again soon? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Bam, 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 bam. In 1927 Chicago, Dark and Eobard meet with Al Capone and offer to help him run his enterprise. Malcolm Merlin is then revealed to be the Legion of Doom's new recruit. On the Wave Rider, Ray and Nate continue to train with one another. They're scolded by Sarah and she reminds them about what happened in Japan. Jax talks to Stein about his daughter Lily and tries to convince him to tell the team. Stein asks him not to say anything because he does not want any harm to come to her. Gideon alerts the team of an aberration in 1927 Chicago, so they head there to see what is going on. Ray and Stein accidentally let Elliot Ness slip out of their hands, and the team regroups on the Wave Rider. Gideon tells them that Ness's death will result in Capone becoming the mayor. Nate figures out the location of Ness, so they head there. Vixen saves Elliot, while the rest of the team fight Capone's men. While Ness recovers in a medbay, Nate is tasked to pretend to be him so that the timeline stays intact. Everyone but Mick and Amaya attend a speakeasy, where they run into the Legion of Doom. After a brief struggle, they abduct Stein and Sarah. After talking to Amaya, Mick begins to see hallucinations of Snart. When they regroup, Mick decides to take the lead in finding her friends. At an unknown location, Merlin offers to give Sarah back her life if she gives him the amulet she had taken from Dark. Despite the idea of her sister Laurel returning, she refuses to do so. Stein commends her for being so selfless, and she tells him that he taught her to do so. Feeling guilty about Sarah giving up the opportunity to be with her sister, he tells her about Lily. This causes a bit of a rip between the two when Dark enters the room. He takes Stein, who is then tortured by Eobard. Mick, Amaya, Ray, and Nate find Sarah, who tells them about Stein. Nate finds Capone's ledger, and Mick continues to see Snart. They rescue Stein, but are confronted by Capone. They easily incapacitate him and his men and leave. It turns out to be part of Dark and Eobard's plan to let them go. They go back to the Wave Rider, where they try to figure out why it is the Legion of Doom want the amulet. Snart tells Mick that he can only trust himself and that he needs to go back to his criminal ways. Jax figures out that Eobard is disguised as Stein, and Nate tries to save Sarah. Eobard tries to run, but Jax shoots him with a speedster gun. The evil speedster recovers and nearly kills Jax when Ray steps in. Eobard gets away and locks himself on the bridge in search for the amulet. Malcolm then leads an assault with Capone's men on the Wave Rider. Nate, Ray, and Sarah take on the henchmen, while Mick takes on Eobard with Amaya. He proves to be too much for them, but just as he is about to kill Amaya, he gets an alert and leaves. Sarah fights Malcolm and eventually bests him. Just as she is about to kill him, he tells her that they will never see Stein again. She saves Stein from being killed by Capone's men and reveals that she gave the Legion of Doom the amulet in exchange for his location. She tells Stein that she gave it to them because the legends are her family and that she would do anything to protect them. Amaya gives Mick a souvenir she stole from Capone's base and kisses him on the cheek. Snart tells Mick not to get too soft or he will end up like him. Ray and Nate then return Ness and make up an alibi as to what had happened. Elsewhere, Eobard shows the rest of the Legion that the two amulets combine to make a compass. He tells them that they will use it to find the Spear of Destiny, which can alter reality itself. In 1967 Los Angeles, Rip is revealed to be a film producer, making a movie based on himself. Could Laurel's return on Arrow be the result of the Legion of Doom's time altering? Will they run into Savitar? And will Barry help the Legends take down all these bad guys since they're moving to Tuesday nights with him? What will Sarah do when she is reunited with her sister? Is Gorilla Grodd pulling the strings? Let's hope so. Will Mick go back to his old ways because of Snart? Find out on the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Bam, 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 bam.